Hello and welcome to Bricks and Banner, the show with real talk from the custom LEGO community. I'm your host as always, Billy, and before we jump into things, I want to give another huge shout out to my friend Charlie who created this theme music. If you like what you hear, please consider checking out his music. It's streaming everywhere you would stream music under the name Charlie the Nomad. With that said, we have a huge show today and I cannot wait for you to hear it. Our guest has propelled resin printing into the mainstream by unintentionally starting a custom business that will remain undefined by any single genre. He's a painter, 3D designer, and an all-out amazing guy, as I discovered over the course of this conversation. That's right, we have none other than Natesminifigs on this week, so with no further ado, let's jump into it.
Brick by brick, piece by piece, real talk coming live from the streets. Brick by brick, piece by piece, real talk coming live from the streets. Brick by brick, piece by piece, real talk coming live from the streets. Brick by brick, by piece, coming live piece by piece.
And we're here with Natesminifigs. How are you doing, Nate?
I'm doing really good. It's good to be here. Good to be talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. You were somebody I kind of, like in the back of my mind, had us on the list. And then you started your own podcast too. And I was like, ooh, that'd be cool. We'll do like a collab with other podcasters sort of deal. But it all really came together really fast once that last episode went up with Eli. So I'm really glad to have you on the podcast.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here. We were like chatting really briefly right before we started recording, but just that's how I figured out about this, found out about you was through the last episode with In Figures and or Eli, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really, really good. I went back through your old ones and listened to them. Loved the style, loved the quality and the topics, of course. So yeah. I'm happy to be here.
I appreciate it. Like you were saying, just on our brief little pre-chat, how it's kind of really niche to the community of like just customizing. But as it started off, like I'm obviously more in the military side of things in the custom realm. So I started it off just to get my footing and everything for my buddies and just talking and bullshitting with like my friends because I knew I could get a conversation out of that, you know?
Right.
But so branching off into talking with Eli because I'm friends with him and now say you and stuff like that, I'm really trying to grow it past that and get as many different voices from the community, all different. Yeah, just like expand it. Even I want to try and get on some builders. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't build, bro. You're like, yeah, these 2x4s are really hitting.
Right.
Like, I don't know what to do, but
I'm actually going to Brick Fair this year, and I feel the exact same way about talking to people who do mocks. It's like totally different worlds, even though it's all under the umbrella of Lego. It's so different. It's totally different mindsets, and because I really don't have any skin in the game when it comes to making mocks, I'm just kind of like, yeah, I appreciate it from afar. I don't do anything of this. So, but I'm sure like, there's some overlap with like topics and whatnot, but
yeah, we'll cross that bridge once I get there.
Right.
I was actually going to ask you if you'd ever been to any conventions. Is Brick Fair going to be your first?
Yeah, this will actually be my first. It's like, I've been doing this for 12, 13 years and it's been like my mecca. It's been like something I've like fantasized about like being able to go to as a kid and like dreamed about showing up there one day, and I'd see everyone else's vlogs and be so jealous and be like, oh my gosh, those could be my friends too, But
dude, I was watching those vlogs while being at the event. Like I'd go into the hotel at night and then watch the vlog from the other day.
That's so funny. Yeah, I've always wanted to be a part of that and be there and show up and see everyone's stuff and meet everyone in person. Like I know everyone so well through the through Instagram. It used to be Flickr. Yeah, it used to be Flickr. Everyone was on Flickr, but that kind of died once I feel like a couple people migrated towards Instagram, and then everyone was like, "Oh, we're doing this now. Okay, I guess we're done with Flickr." Yeah, it started the big
migration.
People still post on Flickr, but it was like such a different world, like way back then. Like it was, it's a totally different environment. No one's in it for followers; they're all in it for like the conversation, I guess. And like I don't know, it was totally different. Were you ever part of Flickr? Or?
Oh yeah. You had to like. You had to know it was there to find stuff.
Yeah,
like it was literally it was finding. I equate that to more of like a forum.
Oh, totally.
Where Instagram is really like a photo sharing platform and everything.
It was
like,
very.
Flickr was just a forum, and like if you didn't know about it, you weren't going to find it.
Totally.
And then it was weird when something went on the explore page, and it's like 30K views and like comments from random people.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it was very contextual, and it was almost like real friend groups because you had to know who knew everyone. And yeah, it was really, really different back then. But I love the way that the community has changed. I love the place that it's at. I'm excited for the future because I think that it has a ton of growth to be made. I'm not only just talking about like people who are in the Lego community as a whole, but specifically in customizing and even in I say customizing and I really mean like including modding. I feel like they're the same thing, but like
Yeah, it's a weird. I'm trying to recall who I was talking to about this, but they asked me like to define what modding was,
Mhm.
just like in my,
It
and it's
kind of
it's
like
so extensive.
Yeah, I would say like from my experience, I'm not a huge like I obviously I've done mods and stuff, and I've even done figures that include like no big custom overhauls, but I'd say like it's the big difference for me is that I'd say like the custom painting scene is just that's more of like painted figures,
Yeah,
less of
yeah,
like
yeah.
actual kit bash things and whatnot, but and lots of more sculpting like
Ooh,
hand
that might
sculpting
be
and
the word
whatnot.
for it. A better kind of distinction is kit bashing.
Kit
See,
bashing,
because
yeah,
if you were gonna go strictly by the definition of modding, it's just modification. So
everything is
painting a
that.
figure is modding, right?
Yeah.
Like anything in the custom Lego umbrella. So that's what makes it weird that like the Brick Arms modding community is the one who's dubbed like the modders, right?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know if it'll ever like shift like in terms of how people label it because it just has been that way for so long. And I've never
Yeah.
really dipped my toe into that like subset of community, but I've always like looked at it like with a lot of respect, kind of like how I look at people who do mocks. I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
that's totally not what I do, but I'm really, really into seeing other people do it. So like I follow like plenty people who will do different mods and also mocks and stuff. I kind of treat it as like a different community almost. But I mean, I started out doing my stuff basically just for me, like with the 3D printing stuff. But I'm shifting to try to include like the modding community with like other pocket stuff that doesn't need to be painted, that can be glued on and stuff. But
Sure.
I kind of want to branch a little bit between the two with that. I don't know. I feel like both communities can benefit from each other. They're like the same thing, but it's like,
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
so strange how it's a subsect of a subsect community. Like we got this small community of Lego, and
and
then
then
well, like that's pretty large. But then you got minifigures, and then you got
right,
custom minifigures, and then
right.
you got all these other branches. Like
It's so
it's
odd.
insane.
And it's very clicky. I mean, I like to
Hmm.
like try to avoid like being involved in like the politics or the drama of it. I really
Sure.
try to be as inclusive as possible to anyone who is like, it has any interest because to be honest, like the community can take anyone that like wants to join and is not going to be like toxic. But
Yeah, I
um,
totally agree.
I really like to try to like branch between the communities. Like I've spoke to Tanner on a couple occasions, and like I feel like he is a perfect like mesh between the two communities almost.
Hmm.
Like he does his fair share of painting stuff, and he
Yeah.
also does like a ton of like something I like he'll do that I've really never seen like other people do. And I'm sure that's because like I'm not very familiar with the modding community.
No, no,
Is
no.
like
You're absolutely right. Tanner is just insane.
they'll like engrave on the arms and the
Yeah.
legs and the torso, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what is so years ago, before I knew that there was a modding community, I'm talking like 4 or 5 years ago. I made a Drive figure from the movie Drive,
Okay.
and I engraved in the torso, and I was like, wow, I'm the first person to do this. I'm so unique. And then
Hmm.
after I saw Tanner's been doing it for years, and I was like, oh no, not unique. But yeah, I'm like a huge fan of like his stuff. Also, a lot of other people. I really don't know any of the usernames like I do in
No,
the
that's
custom
fair.
painting scene, but I follow a fair amount of them, and I'll every once in a while I'll see their post come up and be like, wow, that's great stuff. So
But from the same perspective you have, just being in the opposite community, like I've
totally.
followed custom painters. Like I wouldn't even be surprised if I'd followed you on Flickr at some point. Like
Hmm.
I had been tracking all of the custom painters for so long because I don't mean to like self-deprecate, but I would put down like the kit bashing sort of stuff because like I enjoy it. I have fun with
Hmm.
it. I love doing it, no doubt. And now I'm glad like I've expanded more into the painting finally.
Hmm.
But like being younger, I would put that down in comparison to what people were making with like the
Hmm.
painting and stuff. And I always wanted to get more into that, but then just
I
never did.
kind of I kind of see it like are you familiar at all with like the like what Gundam is like
Yeah, yeah.
Gunpla? Yeah, so I really
Lightly.
I've done that before. That's been one of my hobbies at some point. It's come and gone. Like really, I've had millions of hobbies, but really the only thing that is stuck is like custom painting Legos. It's the weirdest thing. like, but it's the only thing that stuck around. But I kind of view the modding community in a similar like respect as people who do like custom Gundam, because like I see like the discipline and also the perspective and mindset that comes with like mods and also with Gundam. It's very different in a way. It's also very similar, with like modification and cutting and gluing and adding on. So I think like I've always really liked it, and I've always wanted to get into it, as well as like, you know, are you familiar with like what purist customs are?
Oh yeah, of course.
So I've so you think like purist stuff would be easy, like it'd be like, oh, anyone can do purist stuff,
right?
you know, but you really need like the biggest like encyclopedia of parts in your head to be able to be like to piece together custom figures, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And like I'll see stuff from the modding community, I'll see stuff from the purist community, and even from time to time like mock communities and whatever, which is less often, but I'll see that stuff and be like, oh man, I'm totally gonna start doing that. Like I'm gonna create another page, I'm gonna get into that. And then like after like 5 minutes of even just thinking about it just a little bit, I realize, whoa, like it's so much more involved than you really ever realize. And I think like that's how a lot of people probably view the custom painting community as well, as like, oh, it's easy, you just paint on the Lego. But it's like, no, you need like, it's a lifestyle, like it's a hobby that kind of and it's your whole lifestyle, you know. I'm sure it's also the same with mods as well. So yeah, big respects and also like admiration for.
Is this going to be the new wave that all of the painters start making modding accounts? We got Hoodie leading the charge, Eli's following up, Nate's going to be on it.
I don't know. I think like I'd love to do it. Like here's the thing. Like I'll make a lot of different products, so to speak, but I don't really. Mm-hmm. I don't paint every single one of them. I'll probably, for every 10 products I make, I probably paint 2 or 3. Like I don't see myself, because I just don't have the time anymore. Back in the, I mean, like when I first started, I was probably 8 or 9, and I was just doing it because I really don't know. Everyone has like a weird like reason why they started customizing. I think it all kind of revolves around paint sharpieing on clones for some reason.
Yeah, for some reason.
It's like everyone like outside of knowing that anyone else was doing it, all thought that they were like very original and had like a really great idea and painted.
It was like an innate DNA
it's really weird.
Trait. It's so like when there's I don't know the actual like science or anything, but they'll have like gophers or whatever separated from nature for like 7 generations, and then they put it back into nature, and then they hear a bird and they're like scared. It's like everyone has in their DNA somewhere that you have to Sharpie on clones. Like
that's so funny. Yeah, but I think from there it really quickly moved. And well, so to be honest, my first custom was not a clone; it was an Iron Man. I saw on YouTube. I did like a little YouTube video about this like a couple of weeks ago or whatever. Just I'll like go over that a little bit.
I was looking through. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was looking through your YouTube earlier.
Yeah. So I was just kind of talking because I had this Iron Man armor set come out that Morphonauts designed, and it was kind of cool because that was my first custom, was a Iron Man from like 2008 or 9, and like I was just kind of like reflecting and kind of like wanted to share that moment or whatever. But I saw like a stop motion on YouTube, like early YouTube, and it was of the Iron Man trailer recreated in Lego stop motion. And they did like a custom painted Iron Man, and it blew my mind because back then Marvel was not owned, like licensed by Lego. And if it was, I don't know if I would have ever got into customs. So I'm like really grateful that Marvel never acquired the license until Avengers.
Right.
Because I would have not started customizing if there was products out there available. For instance, like Indiana Jones, like I ate up those sets as a kid. And I know like I would have never, if they didn't have it, I probably would have made my own, you know, but because there was a product available, like there was no need. But with the Marvel, I was like so super inclined to make, there was Mega Bloks Iron Man. And I remember being like liking the sets, but hating the figures, like absolutely hating them. The proportions of Mega Bloks figures have always like really just made me like super sick. And like, I hate the like the way they look. I know a lot of people are into the Mega Constructs thing, but not my thing. I've been thinking like about a video about talking about why the minifig proportions are so perfect and like so appealing in a way, you know? Like
not unless you ask Gab's Lego with his plate.
What's that about?
Have you seen those?
Mm-mm.
Oh boy, I'm gonna hold on. I'm sending you right now. Are you aware of plate feet at all?
No.
Oh, okay. So something that historical military builders would do to scale the
Oh
minifigures
gosh.
better.
Oh gosh.
To scale the
No.
minifigures better with their tanks is to add a 1x1 plate
No, I
underneath
don't
their
like
feet.
this. No, I don't like
And
this.
now Gabe big brained it and went a step above with plagues, as they have been dubbed.
Plagues. No,
Um,
I don't, I'm not a fan.
you're not
No.
rocking with the plagues?
This is so cursed. No, I'm not. I'm not about it. I mean, here's my thing. No hate on whoever this is. I'm sure there's a lot of people that love it, but no, this is so cursed.
He's doing something very controversial yet so brave.
I can respect it. It's cool that they're doing their own thing, but I don't know. Like they've got other. I'm looking at their account right now, Gab's Lego, and
Yeah,
like they've got
he's
other
a
figures
tremendous
posted on.
builder.
Oh, absolutely. These builds are beautiful, but
I think I
it's
could get more behind it if if he didn't use the Among Us brick on the bottom.
oh, that's so true. Yeah,
That's the only
I
thing that
think that's
kills
the
it for
thing.
me.
If it was even like the shark tooth, you know what I'm talking about? That like
Yeah,
sharp
yeah. People use those in
that
the past.
something like that. Oh, but then you couldn't angle them. You know,
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Oh, right.
But I don't know. I'm not, that's kind of gross. It's
What I really like is the one that's sitting down. That one
yeah. I
actually
was looking at that.
that
Yeah,
passes for me.
this is like terrible for like an audio podcast, but
Oh no. So like I do a wrap up thing like you had seen, like you were tagged in. So
oh,
people can
okay,
just
yeah.
people could just scroll through. I'll have it all ready there, and they can kind of see what we're referring to.
Well, then I meant to say this is perfect for an audio podcast. No,
I've been
yeah.
thinking about expanding it to like the visual as well, but
I
like
think you should. I think it'd be cool.
I'll like at least experiment with it, but I look like a wreck. I'm in my closet right now. Like
Mhm.
it's tough.
Yeah, me and Aaron have talked about like doing video, but like
Mhm.
there's really no need because we do video, but it's all edited. Like it's just showing what we're talking about, basically.
Yeah.
Editing the photos on. If for like those of you guys that aren't familiar, me and Legomatic 9 or Aaron, we run a podcast called Custom Recap on both of our channels. It's like kind of like it's nothing like this. This is like really cool. This is like conversation about like the community and whatever. But this is Custom Recap is like just highlighting figures, like, you know, kind of dissecting them, talking about the techniques used, just kind of showing them off to YouTube and like getting more exposure and like really like just praise to people that we see
Yeah.
look cool
Yeah,
and stuff.
highlighting a lot of creators.
Yeah,
It's a really cool thing that you guys were doing with that.
thanks. Yeah, it's I started it like ages ago and then like stopped it immediately, and then I
Mhm.
was like, hey, I kind of want to do this. Like, Aaron, would you want to do this with me? He's like, absolutely. So then he's really been nice because it holds me accountable. It's like, oh, like it's not just like me just kind of like messing around. It's like, oh, we have like a mutual agreement, like we're gonna make something together. So it always helps to have like
That's a
someone
good
to.
point. That's been something on my mind a lot lately is trying to
Mhm.
get on a co-host. I have somebody in mind as well. If he's listening, he probably knows who he is as well. But I don't know. I'm trying to figure out exactly the benefits because I don't know how the dynamic would be with 3 people.
Yeah,
But
so
what
I'll be honest. We had a episode with 3 people. It was Dylan or the Moose Figs was our third person, and
Oh, okay.
for the format that we had, where we're just discussing like, you know, images.
Yeah.
And especially with the recording platform that we use, it's really hard to navigate and communicate like who's going to be talking.
Mm.
So like I'd say like 2 is a perfect chemistry. Just because obviously it's a conversation, but
I've done some with 3, so
okay.
like 2 guests and me.
Mm-hmm.
And they're a bit more chaotic, but they're always really fun because
Yeah.
whenever I do a duo like that, it's because the 2 of them are buddies and I want to get both of them. I was going to get both of them
Okay.
individually. So it's like, we're all friends. We'll just make it
Might as
happen.
well.
And they're extremely chaotic,
Mhm.
but they're a great time. And when I'm listening to podcasts, I love those kind of dynamics where it's like a group of friends. So hopefully
Totally.
the audience is also appreciative to that. But in
My
terms of
views.
like in terms of him coming from like a more of a co-host angle alongside me though,
Mhm.
that'd be an interesting dynamic. I want to try that. But if we didn't go that way, I was thinking of having like a pre-show where the 2 of us
Mhm.
talk about other stuff and then it transitions into the full episode. I don't know.
I don't know. To be honest,
Different
like
ideas.
my two cents on like your thing is it's really really good right now, and I would hate to see it like change. To be honest,
Sure.
so I don't know. I'd say like keep doing this. Just keep doing what you're doing, and even if you need to do a separate thing with that dude,
Mm.
or you know, and figure something out like that. Because this is like I don't know the chemistry of like the conversations and stuff on the podcast. This current format you have is really cool. Like I've listened to a few, and I really like how it is, and like I don't know because you know I'm recording one with you, but I'll also be listening, you know, in the future to when you
Right,
put
right,
stuff
right.
out. So like as a like I guess you could say as a fan, like that's my opinion is like keep going with what you have because it's really good, but also you know keep experimenting and maybe you'll find
Yeah, if
out
it's
that
not
something is
broken,
even
don't fix
better.
it.
I guess yeah, but yeah, you'll find out like if it works or not really really fast.
Exactly, yeah. No, I appreciate your take on that. The if you want a chaotic one to listen into, you could go to Fallout Bricks and California Compliant.
Hmm.
That was intense. It was just the two of them screaming at each other for basically the whole thing. It was a great time. One of my favorite episodes.
Hmm.
But just going back to the start, we kind of got ahead of ourselves, just going down the rabbit hole, which was great. How did you exactly start in the community? Because I know you've been around like a long, long time, like predating me. If you said 12 years,
Hmm.
and then I believe you took like a bit of a break, and now you came back in full
Yep.
swing, better than ever. So how'd that all play out for you?
Yeah, like I was talking about sharpieing early on, that quickly transitioned into painting like full figures.
Hmm.
I think like some of my first ones were actually Halo customs, using like Brickforge armor and then painting on top of that, as well as Spider-Man stuff. That was like a really early thing for me was painting Spider-Man. Around like 2012 was like the time when I probably started. I think I started my Flickr and my YouTube. So if you go back to my YouTube, there's like videos of me like with baby voice.
Yeah.
And they're like I don't know, in a way like it's cute and it's like wow, I've really been doing this for a while, but then it's also like man, I've really been doing this for a while like you know, I don't know, I look back at those videos with like so much mixed emotions and there's like probably 25 that I've privated, but I've left a few up that I can like barely get through like cringe wise like I'm like can barely survive to the end and those are the ones that I've left up but there's other ones where I'm like oh, what was I thinking, you know, like I'm like 11 12 13 years old making these videos like I'm expecting people are going to be watching and they did, which was so weird. I made a Spider-Man a cut like back when the Amazing Spider-Man movies came out I made a whole like showcase. I think like coming from the custom painting community. I know I listened to Hoodies or Griff's podcast that he
Hmm.
did with you, and he talked about how he had no idea like about this like community of like all these people. And I think like everyone has their different way that they get into this community, but I really found like I did it for myself. That was the first thing, just because I would want to make figures that didn't exist and have them. I don't really know why, but I just did.
Yeah,
And then
totally.
yeah, after I would kind of like you you'd find things on YouTube and go through these rabbit holes of like, oh my gosh, there's other people that do this. That led to them being like, check out my Flickr, you know, and you check out the Flickr and be like, holy crap, there's a lot of people on here doing like exactly what I like to do. And you don't really feel like so alone and you feel like a little validated. So it helps you like make more stuff and keep going. And I think that's like when I started posting was around that time, but I made it an Amazing Spider-Man like showcase parodying like copying kind of the style of MGF. He kind of like invented, or Ross, I guess, invented that style of like, hey guys, this is my showcase of like my lineup of figures. It was like such a thing that people will do back in like the mid two or 2010s ish era
Yeah.
was like make a ton of figures, paint them up, and like have a showcase. And like you'd rarely see that nowadays because it's like all on Instagram. Like the custom community on YouTube doesn't exist. It's gone. Like
Mm.
whereas one point that's where it all was. Like the back in the day, like when like everyone was on YouTube and that was all you had because like Instagram didn't exist and Flickr was limited with how the interaction was like in terms of like having conversations and like having like a community. YouTube was a lot
It was
better.
tough. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, now it's all on Instagram. Like 99% of it is on Instagram. You got some people on YouTube and you've got like a few people who are still posting on Flickr for whatever reason. And I don't know, like But yeah, I made that showcase and it got like 50,000 views and it blew my
That's
mind.
insane.
For like a 12-year-old, that blew my mind. And I did nothing. And I just didn't, because like I got the views and I was like, I guess that's it. I guess I'm done. Like I don't need to make anything anymore. I didn't do it for the views. I just kind of did it for like, because I felt like I needed to do it. Like I feel like when you're young and you see stuff like being made like that out there, you're like, oh, I need to do this. You know, it's like kids like making Fortnite streams today. I feel like they're probably doing it a little bit for the views, but I feel like they see their kind of like inspiration doing. Like, yeah, I need to do this too for whatever reason, you know. So
yeah, it's where your passion is. I think that's actually kind of an interesting topic, though, that back then when we would have gotten into it, the conversation of like views was a lot more foreign than it is now.
Very different.
That culture it's strange what this generation of kids is going to be going through. But
I miss the like simpler days of my life, you know. I mean, like my personal life has been like a roller coaster in terms of like, you know, every angle, but like the consistent like part of my life has been like the Lego community. And and like that's been a place that's been always really nice to come back to. And I remember back in the day, like when it was a lot simpler, was on YouTube, when, you know, there wasn't a second platform like Instagram, and it really was just to try to like connect with people. Like, oh, you know, I hope so and so sees this video and comments, because like that would be dope or whatever. And like then you would always be commenting on their videos. I still remember people's usernames and friends that I had made on Flickr and YouTube that don't exist anymore. I don't know their real name and they're totally gone. They've ghosted. So there's like no way I'd reconnect. But back then they were like some of my greatest friends that I never even knew like their first name or whatever. But yeah, I think like from there, I've taken breaks like a year at a time, every once in a while, months at a time. And I think like, you know, like going through high school and middle school, it's really rough to have this as a hobby. Especially, I think maybe moving forward, it's getting more and more acceptable as like people are being more open about it. But especially back like even 5 years ago, like this is, I mean, even today, it's a little weird. But it's nowhere near as weird as it was considered.
And just being that age, you'll always think anything is weird.
Yeah, so. Definitely. Especially what your peers are up to. I feel like that's a really hard thing to juggle. It's like being a part of this is being able to like be okay with it. And not that you necessarily need to broadcast that to everyone, because that's what everyone who knew me personally would tell me, is like, don't be afraid of it. Like, it's nothing to be ashamed of, but it like absolutely is to you. It's so harsh, you know, to like feel like you're almost like living a double life of like being at school and being like, I'm totally normal. And then like at home, like I wouldn't hang out with people like at all in real life until I was like in high school, because I was so scared that they would make fun of me for my massive Lego room. Like my room was just like shotgun Lego everywhere. Like you walk in there with like a huge shotgun full of Lego, and that's what my room was. And I was like so embarrassed and like never was into the sports or anything. So like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So it's
and like, then at the same time though, once you open up about that, you discover like there's a bunch of other people who feeling the same, and like they play with Lego too. It's like, what?
Yeah, and I don't know. I feel like there's like a weird taboo about like people who do this, and like partially it's true. Like it's a bunch of weirdos who like really don't get outside much and like are kind of antisocial. But like within that group, there's like a lot of like really good people, and like they're doing really cool things. And they're creating a lot of really cool stuff. So I think like yeah, like it is weird, and I wouldn't necessarily give the advice to like someone like who's growing up being into customizing or modding to like go share that with like all your friends, because chances are it's going to push them away. But like I guess like if I had someone that could tell me what to do back then, I wish they would have been like, let people like into your life and then tell them, but like be careful who you tell. You know what I mean? I just didn't tell anyone, you know. Like the platforms itself, especially today, have like opened up so much possibilities for like connection. Instagram has changed how the community like exists. I'm sure it's the same with modding. Like, you know, I feel like kind of like the communities like kind of go hand in hand with like their history and like how they exist today and how they have existed.
See, well, actually with the well, before I go into that, I was going to say like the YouTube side was totally foreign to like the modding community.
Okay, I was kind of thinking that.
When Eli was talking about how he would follow X39 Customs and like talk to him in the comments and everything, and like had a really good relationship. I was like, oh, that's really cool, but I'd never experienced that, so I couldn't really contextualize it. But you diving deeper into it, now I understand like, oh, Like YouTube was really its own world, like equivalent to
Yeah.
Flickr.
I would say
But
like I'd say like a vast majority, like 90% of people on YouTube are just viewers. But back
mm,
then, because it was so niche, I'd say it was 50-50. Like people who
sure,
were in the
yeah,
comments were directly in communication with the creators and vice versa. They were making their
yeah,
own
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So yeah, it's different. But sorry, I cut you off there.
Makes a lot of sense. No, no, no. But like with the kids, I think again, it's so easy to say when you're from the outside view and you're not like going through it. Everything's difficult at that time. But I think the difference is you don't have to broadcast it, but you shouldn't have to shy away either.
Yeah, definitely.
Like when you find people, again, also, whoever's going to make fun of you for it, you don't, they don't deserve your time to begin
Oh,
with. But
totally.
you don't have to go around and be like, I build Lego. Like that's where you turn into the weird kid who builds Lego, right? But when you're just casual bounds, like, oh, so what hobbies do you have? And it's like, well, see, the way I would ease it in is like, oh, I paint miniatures.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah, that's a great way of saying that.
miniature what? Lego figures. Like I customize them. And then once you show them a photo and they're like, oh, that's like the dude from Call of Duty. And they're like,
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah. And then,
yeah,
yeah, it's, I don't know. Once you have one good interaction sharing it with somebody, it makes it like infinitely easier to be more confident in yourself and have that
totally.
confidence.
I would say 90% of the times that I've gone through that little checklist of people's conversation when they're like, oh, what do you do? And you're like, oh, I do this. And you kind of like don't want to say what it is.
Hmm.
And eventually you're confronted, like, you're like, I got to just show them. I'd say
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
99% of the time where I'm like, this is what I do. Overwhelmingly positive
Dude,
results.
I've never had a negative one.
Yeah.
Not once, only in my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, totally. I think like I'm 21 now. I really don't care. Like all I do now that this is like what I do for a living, like I
Yeah.
really don't care about like the people that would like think it's weird or whatever. And like because I'm so like about it and I feel like I'm very able to not put off a vibe that I would be about it. People are generally like surprised and also just like don't think it's weird, but whatever.
Mm.
I just don't care anymore. But it was so at a time like in my life, it was so hard to not like be so worried that like no like person would ever like me or like, friends would never want to talk to me or whatever. But
Yeah.
it's totally different now. And I think also that changed over time, like with like when I would post, how I would post, and like as I would increase in like in my skill level. I think like
Yeah.
that's a big thing in the custom painting community that people don't really touch on. Is it takes years, like like many years, and I'm sure it's the same with modding, but people just don't get that. Like, but it takes years, like 5 years, to like see any level of growth because it's really hard to like start from doing never doing this and then build up this like ability to kind of translate shapes and little tiny markings onto this like very small surface area. And like I don't know, you can look back, I'm sure you too, you can look back at your stuff from like 5 years. I don't know how long you've been doing this, but from however long ago.
I think it's
And
like
you
7 or so that I've had a Flickr.
okay, yeah, I'm sure like you can look back at those early posts and be like, wow, like just see the amount of growth that you've had.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
think I think people today are kind of like impatient. And I think partly like with my like the Natesminifigs business thing, I think part of my reason behind doing that was to try to get people an easier way to start. Because like
Mm.
I don't see too many people just starting anymore. I feel like people who are people who are in the community have been in the community for years, and like not a lot of people are joining anymore. Like it used to be like 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was the time when everyone was just like, I'm new, I'm new, I'm new. Like they're starting, and I don't
Yeah.
see like a whole lot of people starting anymore. It's like you do see them, and like I cheer them on and like encourage them because it's so good to like have people like to stick with it, and be a part of the community. But I think that's like a big reason why I started putting out like the parts that I have was first of all for me make things easier on me for painting
Right.
because like probably 80% of what you don't want to do with a figure is sculpt. It's so annoying. It sucks. And so like having the printed parts and stuff is cuts all that out and also really helps people focus just on paintwork, which is like a big thing. And the customs is like improving your paintwork over time. You'll see at the start, it's like the line thickness is like like a quarter of an
A
inch thick.
Sharpie
Yeah,
marker thick. Yeah.
yeah, and then over time it'll improve, and like it's kind of like the thinner and steadier your lines get, you can tell like, oh, this person's been doing it for a while or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
guess
There's just
back to
no
like
shortcuts to it. There's no shortcuts. You just
totally, yeah.
gotta put
It
in the
comes with
time.
time, definitely. But
I was
back,
watching your YouTube video, your most recent one, which is like an update thing about
yeah,
what you're working on and all. I think it's really cool that you're not trying to stick into one genre of like just Star Wars or whatever, and that you're
yeah,
expanding into the Marvel and just kind of going wherever your interests lead you. I love that.
totally.
I'm excited to see where it continues. But you also mentioned trying to offer products specifically that would be like just to be modded, right?
Hmm.
Just
Exactly.
giving you the base like templates to expand on that. And when I heard that, I thought it was really cool, but I just had a couple thoughts. The interesting part for me is like you're aware of like Tiny Tactical.
Yes, and it's been like on my list to basically like do exactly what they're doing, but my spin on it for so
Mm.
long.
So like for me, what's interesting about them is that they're not really selling a complete product in a way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like they're really just selling for okay, like there's the niche community of the custom Lego people, but you could still buy like a custom Lego figure from Citizen Brick or whatever and just keep it on your shelf, right?
Yeah.
And then
Totally.
there's this even further down the line is where you're going to buy these parts specifically to modify them yourself. And
Hmm.
like I'm interested from the business perspective that that's like sustainable. But what I find interesting from your perspective, actually, like kind of elaborating that on that a little bit, is that you're looking at it to not exactly, well, it will obviously cater to the people who are already in it, but you're hoping that'll entice new people to finally give it a try because there's an easy jumping off point. And I
Hmm.
really hadn't considered that with the more
Yeah.
like template parts.
Yeah. I think like as I got better, you're getting good when people are like, "Can I buy this?" That's how you know like
Mm-hmm. Sure.
you're achieving some level of quality that's desirable to other people, other than just your friends who are like, "This is great." But like when people are like, "Oh, I want to buy this," like, "Do you do commissions?" And it's like, "No, I don't." Like throughout all the years, it's like, "Do you do commissions?" Like, "No, absolutely not." Don't ask me. It's like you get asked that. This is like a shared thing amongst like 90% of the customizers is like, do you do commissions? Like,
Mhm.
no. If you ask me again, like your block type of mentality, probably not like that harsh, but like you get like so many questions about that as you improve, and like it's so annoying because they don't understand. Like just like normal people who see this and admire it, they don't understand how much work goes into it, and like the hours that you'll put into one
Yeah.
figure, like 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12 hours go into one figure, and then like for you to try to recreate that is so impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm at the point now where I'm like very comfortable recreating a figure. I'll do it like fairly often with the cat. Like I'm saying, like with the cast, the prints I make, so easy to replicate because
Sure.
it's same template. You're
You
just
don't got to
putting a new skin on
resculpt or
top.
anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like my biggest my biggest like hope when I started doing this is that people would stop asking me to make them stuff and just start doing it themselves. And like, and for different reasons. For one, quit bugging me. Two, like you can experience how fun it is to do it yourself. Like it's something. There's something about like doing this specific hobby that clicks with a specific, like amount of people that like find it so interesting. And chances are, like if you're interested in buying something like this, you could be making it yourself. You just haven't put the time in yet, and like
Right.
you'd enjoy it. The people who
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
buy this type of stuff would enjoy making it. Is like kind of my thoughts. And I've actually seen like probably I've been doing this for a couple months now. Probably like people who have like never touched a brush to making an account in full customs, like 5 to 10 people have started, like not saying like specifically because of my stuff, but I'm saying like as a really good like leg in to starting has been like my stuff has helped them into that. And I've seen some accounts be made and be like, wow, this is really cool. And then people who have been sort of into it and then have kind of grown because and I'm not trying to be like my stuff is life changing.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm just trying to say like I've seen people who don't do it and have been asking me. They've been like, because I've had this account for many years, and people are
Hmm.
like, "Can I buy? Can I buy? Can I buy?" And then I'm like, "Yeah, you can buy. It's just not painted. You got to paint it yourself." And
Yeah.
in a way, like I could sell painted figures now. It's like logistically I probably couldn't, just because my time is so limited with like shipping and everything, designing so much stuff. But like every once in a while I'll be like, someone will be asking me like, hey, like I really want this figure. I'm like, you know what, I'll make it for you. And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, I charge hefty prices, like because my time is so
fair.
valuable. Like I'm not lying, like starting any figure will be like $100. Like no conversation will like can continue
unless they're like cool with the time. Yeah, I
exactly.
understand
And
that.
like, to be honest, most of the time, like if they're down with that, like I'm totally cool to like work with them on price. But it's like kind of the mentality for me to know that they're going to appreciate it, to be like, yeah, I'll pay whatever you want. And it's like most of the time I'm not going to go like higher than that or whatever. And I'll probably even be like, you know what, like I'll just do it for less or whatever you want. But just to know that like they would be down with like paying that amount, it shows me like, oh, they know and they appreciate, like they understand. So I'll be like, I'm totally
because there's like legitimately a lot of kind of time wasters, like not to be rude, but who will just keep on inquiring about commissions or products and stuff like purchasing that never go anywhere. So it's the quickest surefire way to just weed it out. Because like when like I don't want to have to sit there and haggle with you on something that you're not even going to pay on in the end.
Right. So, exactly.
Yeah, I totally understand that.
And I have people pay up front. Like I'm not.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm not going to be like, hey, okay, I made your thing. And they'll be like, yeah, I actually can't pay. I'm like, I don't start until I get like the PayPal.
I learned that lesson once.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
One time. Yeah. That's funny. But yeah, I think like in terms of seeing like what my stuff has done, it's really cool to like, I don't know. I just hope like long term, I really don't think this is going to stop. And I really don't think it's going to quit growing. I think it's going to continue to get bigger. And my goal with my little parts that I make and whatever is to continue people getting into this. Like, yeah, I do cater to people who are already in the game, but I also want to encourage people to start by using my stuff. You know, like I just think it's like probably one of the most satisfying things to be like, oh wow, this like this dude has never done this before. And they'll be in DMs with me being like, look what I made. And like, wow, that's awesome. And like, you know, like obviously compared to like something like I would spend my time on, like would not like match quality, but like knowing like this is their first thing or whatever, it's super cool to see. And like, I don't know, like I really feel like
being there to like encourage it and
totally
help them along, show them what they can improve with. It's an amazing thing. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. Just to like finish up the story of like my Lego journey or whatever, like customizing journey. Like after I migrated from YouTube to Instagram, it kind of killed the YouTube. Well, quickly before that, I had a video get like 700,000 views. It was another Spider-Man one. I don't know what it is with Spider-Man, but I also watched this YouTube video recently, and they said something about Spider-Man and thumbnails, man. It'll just blow up your video.
Oh my God,
I don't
like the
know
old
what it is.
Spider-Man and Elsa kids videos. You remember
that?
those?
That's also what I thought about too. I'm like, that is proof of that. And then anytime I've been like, even if it's just in the title or in the thumbnail, it's like instant success. So I guess I got to do more Spider-Man stuff, which is, it's good because I'm into it, but it's also like, man, that really helps with views, I guess. I don't know why, but yeah, that blew the heck up. And I was like, did nothing. I was like so happy about it. And I'm like, yes, here's my chance to like make it and be able to like make a living doing YouTube and doing this and make it real and make people like understand this is like a real thing. There's a lot of people doing this, and I did absolutely nothing. And then like I just took a pretty big break.
I want to beat yourself up on that. It's hard to capitalize on quick success on YouTube like that. Especially with something that was probably a bunch of 5-year-olds that didn't know what to do, but their mom typed in Spider-Man for them. Like I wouldn't, you know,
that's very,
it's a hard audience to capitalize on, but
yeah, I think though that video really taught me a big lesson. Was like after that point, I realized like I probably could have continued making similar content to that and been able to like reach like really good levels of success. Like I've never wanted to do the college thing. I got terrible grades in high school. I've really not been interested in like school and stuff. And so like, I've always been really looking for like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And so like, I knew like, I want to make something work on my own, but I really don't want to have to like, I don't know, like make a business or something like that. So I was if I could,
here you are, you made a business.
Well, I guess we'll get to that. But I was like, if I could make it work with YouTube, that's like, that would be my dream or whatever. Sure. And then that one video though took me 3 weeks to make. Like that, I think it was in 2018, that Spider-Man one took me 3 weeks. And after, I was so burnt out that I took like a huge break, and it did really well, and I was so proud of it. And then I just didn't do anything. That's probably my biggest regret. And like in my recent history is not like really capitalizing on that like precious like opportunity, because the algorithm was like on my side and was like, oh, this thing's blowing up, like let's blow it up. And then I did nothing. So like I learned from that. Like, so after graduating high school, I got a job doing like really like just really terrible electrical work, like manufacturing job. And it was like so like crude work environment, and I really hated it. And I like would always speak like in opposition to like the leadership there about like changes that they should make, and everyone would agree with me, but like it just would not.
Nothing would ever come of it.
And they hated me for it. So eventually they just fired me. Like they wrongfully terminated me. And like they had like their justifications for why they got rid of me. It was really just because they didn't like my opinions or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'd worked there for like 9-10 months, and it was like a living hell, like a huge nightmare. And after like that day, they fired me. They're like, we're parting ways. I'm like, okay, when is that effective? They're like, right now. And I was like, oh, sweet. Like I'm done. And then no one could pick me up, and I didn't have a car. So walking home, I just told myself like, I'm never working. I mean, all through high school, I mean, because like financial situations at home, like I always needed to be bringing in an income. And so I'd work like the worst jobs. I worked as a dishwasher for 3 years, and other restaurants places too, like on and off. And I hate working in restaurants and in industries where I get like the bare minimum for doing the worst work ever. And so after graduating, I did that job, and that after being fired, it was like the last straw for me. So I like probably 6 months prior, my dad was like, hey, like let's get you a 3D printer. And I'm like, no, that's totally cool. It's too much money. And then he's like, well, like I'll just get you one. And then he just got me one, and I was like, thanks, like that's sweet. And then I did nothing with it, and it sat there for like 6 months. And I had taken 3D design classes in high school, so I knew like I was a little bit familiar with stuff. And also, I want to quickly correct Eli. I know this is like so petty of me, but he mentioned that like most of my stuff is Morphonauts, and like that is just so not true. Like I will give credit to Morphon, like so much stuff. Like he's an incredible designer, and like big props to him. He designed my Iron Man, he designed my clone armor, and he designed my Batman helmets. Right. Everything else is me though. And
yeah, that's awesome. I found that out again watching that video.
Okay, yeah.
Because I've seen, we could get into it, like your take on so many resin printers popping up all of a sudden.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that in a minute.
But I like discovered out of him basically that everyone basically hires Morphonauts, because I found it strange that everyone knew how to 3D model. Like just
you're
from
like,
the outside,
where is this talent coming from?
Yo, we had all these 3D modelers and nobody did anything about
like,
it.
Like they're all just sitting there.
So once he said that Morphonauts designs a bunch of stuff, I'm like, oh,
it
okay,
makes sense.
Now everything makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I had kind of followed what he said, but then watching your video, I realized that you've been really working on it. And I have a good buddy, StarConX4, Sean, who's getting into like really working hard on 3D modeling, and it's an amazing process. Like seeing
super hard.
Yeah, it's difficult. I tried to get into it a long time ago when I tried, because like in a similar vein to you, I'd really wanted to make something in the community, like business wise.
Right.
Just being in it so long, and I thought about going the 3D printer route, but this was when 3D printers were like super primitive, and like the cheapest model was like $1,000.
Not worth it.
So like there wasn't anything there, and I tried with 3D modeling, and I could never grasp it. I had to do it physically, but I experimented with a little resin casting. I might get back into that eventually.
Resin casting is something I think is still really cool, and is actually, I'd say, is superior to resin printing. Which is probably like the
in
weirdest...
terms of quality.
Yes.
Yeah, in a way, just because you're not going to have that pattern sort of grit to it. But
well, like that can be sanded off, that's fine, but like the actual material, like resin, like printing, like actual resin is really brittle, and is like it's really easy to sand. It's great to work with, and I love it, but it's like I'll always stand by that it's really inferior to resin casting, like a really good sculpt or something. Even if you were to print something, sand it, and then cast the 3D print of that, like it's still superior. Like I will always, there is warping issues and whatever, but just because of the material that it is, it's closer to a plastic than resin is.
I mean, the ones I were using wasn't even a resin. I was trying this like 2-part plastic.
Epoxy or
yeah, it wasn't an epoxy. It was called like a plastic. I might try and buy a resin because I had some curing issues with those with just a lot of bubbles. But I also want to experiment with the pressure pot. It was just such a beautiful process. Like I loved working on it. I got into it during like quarantine a bit. So I'd wake up and I would cast, and then I went to bed. And then I woke up and I casted and I went back to bed. Like I was doing it just constantly. And then school and whatever got in the way. But, you know, I might still invest into the pressure pot and really see if I can make something happen with that. But either way.
Yeah, I think like in the future, like printing for me, 3D printing, like it could, but it also could not like remain a thing for me. But like kind of my goal is to become an injection molding company. Like
I was gonna add, dude, it's bizarre. Literally everything, like everywhere I want this conversation like to go, like I was gonna ask a question about this. You beat me to it. Like I was gonna ask you if
I guess that's my bad then.
No, I love it. I was gonna ask you if long term you would plan on trying to like go the route of injection molding.
And like so like when I first like started to put out the prints, even before I was like, hey guys, I know how to 3D print. Cause really there was no one doing it. Like I'm going to be honest. Like I'll be a little like boastful.
Eli got one thing right, is that you basically started it.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to be like, guys, I'm the first one, but I'm just like, before I started doing it, no one was doing it. There was, and it specifically in our community, there's been people who've been doing this forever. I'm not the first one to ever do this, but 3D printed Lego compatible stuff. For customizing, I'm the first. And that was, I'm not trying to be like a jerk or whatever, but I know that like
I know what you mean.
But yeah, like you mentioned, there's other people who do this, and like I'm respectful, and I also appreciate what they put out as well. So, but I don't know. Yeah. So I got fired, and I was like, you know, I got to make something work. And, I was like at the lowest point of my life ever. And I was like, cause like, I'm like, well, not ever, but, it was a really low point because I'm like, I really don't want to go to school and I really don't want to get another job. And I was like, you know what? Like, I got to make something work. And I'm like, what are my resources? And I had around like 1,000, 2,000 followers on Instagram at the time. And this was July 2020.
Okay.
And so this is just last year. And I was like, you know what? Like, let's just try to make something work with that. So I really quickly was like, what could I make that would be of value, that people would want to buy, that I would want to buy, that I could sell, and I could actually make money doing this. And I was like, well, I have a 3D printer, I guess. So I was like, okay, well, so originally I was going to try to do resin casting. And so I didn't even touch the printer. So I was like, okay, I got to get something casted. I got to learn how to cast. And because I never knew I was going to be doing this. Like I never was like, oh, I know, I'll sell 3D prints. It's like, I wanted to like cast some of my sculpts that I had done because I was like really proud of some sculpts. So I was trying to cast them. And then I got so frustrated with the process that I was like, what if I just like tried to 3D print a part and then cast that part? And then I was like, so I got my first thing I ever made was a Boba Fett helmet. And I printed it out and it was terrible. And like couple, like also like this is the second I got fired, I didn't sleep. I probably slept like a couple hours a night for like 2 weeks straight. And I was just frantically trying to make anything work. And so I would print something out, it'd be terrible. I'd like keep trying to design. I didn't really know anything about Blender. I'd used this program called Maya, very similar to Blender, but I was trained on Maya in high school. And it's basically the same, but it's very, very different. And I hadn't touched it in years. So like I started trying to get better with Blender, just binging YouTube videos, like hours, like 10, 15 hours a day, learning how to 3D model. And meanwhile, putting out 3D prints like every a couple hours, trying to improve and not waste time. And like also I had zero money and I was like trying to juggle that as well. But I'd be posting stuff on like group chats and stories and stuff, and people were like, hey, are you selling this? And can I buy this? Are you going to be putting this out? And I was like, yeah, I guess. I didn't realize people would want it. I didn't realize like people would buy 3D printed stuff. I didn't think that it was like valuable enough. And
Right.
until I realized like there was too many people asking, and I would say, would be like, hey, can I buy this? I'm like, yeah, it's this much money, and just PayPal me and then send me your address. And after like word kind of started leaking out before, like I didn't even tell anyone. And that first week, I was like, I had probably like, I sent like 1,000, 2,000 followers, and I had like probably like 100 DMs, and that was like record numbers for me. And I was like, what is happening? So I really tried to like make it work until I realized like I physically could not do it anymore. And I had to make a website, like the PayPal thing, like, and just DMing and stuff like that. I'm like, this just long term will not work. Like it just is not going to work. So in one day I was like, all right, I got to get this up. And I made a website on Wix, which, like I can get into later, but it, actually like they like canceled me, like, or they like deleted they like made it so I couldn't make money on it because it's copyrighted crap, but I'll talk about that in a bit.
That's whack.
Yeah. So I threw up the website, and then I got, my first thing was like the, what do you call it? The Boba Fett armor. I did the chest piece, shoulders, gauntlets, knees, and belt, and a helmet and jetpack. And that took me probably, all those parts together probably took me 2 weeks to make. Now, something like that could take me like a day. Like that's how much I've improved, is like, cause I just haven't stopped like for it since I started doing this, was, that. And so I started putting it out, and quickly was like completely overwhelmed with how many people started buying. I had no idea how many people would actually want this, and that it would be actual, like what could be an actual source of income for me.
Yeah.
And I'm able to support myself and run the business. And I really don't have like anything, like, I don't know, like I'm able to have savings and stuff. Like I'm very, very happy with where it's at. But like I'm saying, like I want to move towards like stuff that's like where the real money is, because at that point, like I can move towards making more and actually hiring some people. Because from start to finish, if people order something, I get the order. Well, first of all, I'm doing the designs to make it. Then I'm printing it out. All this time, that's the huge, like, hours and hours long process. And like, I ship every order myself, and I'm one dude, and I get hundreds of orders a week, and like I'm one dude, and it's so hard to juggle that. And so like if I could hire someone, it would be a dream. But also, to be able to hire someone would require the person I'm hiring to be able to understand like the weirdest stuff. Like for someone who doesn't know anything about this, it's like almost impossible to try to get them into it and understand like how to stock whatever and whatnot. So, but
it's possible though. It's possible.
Yeah, I think like that's where I'm trying to head. But to talk about other people doing the same stuff as me, you've got Custom Brick Builder, and he's doing like, I feel like we do kind of different stuff, but like I know he doesn't design anything. I design 90% of my stuff, and I work with Morphonauts and other stuff. He doesn't design anything, but he does like have really, really good commissioned stuff that he puts out from Morphonauts, and I feel like he has other people who does stuff for him. So that's really cool. He's doing some similar things, and then also there's like, I feel like there's like 15 other people who are like,
there's tons.
I know, and like I don't know, like part of me is like, really, guys? And then the other part of me is like, no, this is awesome. Like it's only helping like people get more into it, And like at the first, when I first started seeing people like, not to like say that they're like, I'll just say it, like just to start to see them copying me. Like I was kind of like, oh shoot, like this is really going to hurt me. Cause like, I need this to succeed for my life. Like this is like, I need this for my followers and for putting stuff out, and I did this, but I like, this is my income. Like this is how I support myself, and like, and I need to not fail. So like I was like I would see competition and be like, oh shoot, like this might like mess me up. But I think like it did the opposite. I think like the more people that are doing this type of stuff gets more people into it, gets more people interested. It motivates me to make more products faster and better. I'm able at this point to get like 2 to 4 like new products made in a day. And like I have a second account where I'll post like work in progress stuff, and I'm very, very interested and vocal about what other people think about what should be made, how it should be made, and how it should look, what it should include, how it'll work. And so I feel like because I design my own stuff, like I really am able to incorporate the opinions of people who are going to be buying the stuff. I think that's like a really big thing that I appreciate about the people that follow me is they'll not hold back if something is like really ugly and sucks, and they're like, no, change that. And I'm really like, I love the process of being like, oh yeah, that does suck. I didn't see it like that before, so I better change that. But yeah, I think like moving forward, I would definitely, I don't think this is stopping. I don't think it's gonna get any smaller. I think like the opposite is gonna happen, and it'll just continue to improve and get bigger and bigger. So, yeah, injection molding is where I'm gonna try to go. I'm gonna get into pad printing next year, hopefully,
Oh wow.
and do some of that.
That's the other frontier that I like. A bunch of buddies I know more on the
Yeah,
collector side of things.
totally.
For like Citizen Brick, a
Yeah.
bunch of people I know
So
have been getting into the printing too. It's crazy.
I don't know.
Before we tangent into that, I hadn't realized that like you're really sustaining yourself on this, and that's amazing. Like that is really the dream come true, and I couldn't be happier
this is
for
my
you.
full-time job.
That's amazing. That's phenomenal. I'm so excited to see where you take it in the future. You've no doubt you've got everything to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I really hope like this can, like, to be honest, like this is not going to be my only business. Just knowing like the experience of like, and the immense like work that goes into starting up like a business like this to become so successful. Like I will say it, I'm so thankful for the amounts of success I've seen, and like it's beyond anything I would have ever thought was possible with this community specifically. I didn't think there was any money to be made. But then like you look at like Brick Arms and you look at Eclipse Graphics or Citizen Brick and you're like, well, they're doing it. And AV Figures and Clone Army Customs. And I'm like, well, they're doing it. Why can't I do it? You know, like what's separating me from them? And it's really just like hours and hours of work and like a vision, you know? But yeah,
there's no shortcuts like the painting.
Totally
there's just no shortcuts.
Definitely not. I think like I encourage people to start doing it. There's so many people that like start the resin thing and they're like, hey, like I'm gonna be making these products, and there's like bunches of people, like that will message me and be like, hey, I'm putting out this armor set. Like I hope that you're not angry at me and like that we're not gonna be competitors. I'm like, well, I'm not. It's either like, dude, like I have no interest in doing that, go ahead, or like I'm like, no, like I'm actually putting like my own stuff like that out soon too. So like I hope like they're probably
don't take it personally.
Yeah, I'm like there's like I feel like at the beginning there was kind of this sentiment where it's so weird because there's another subset community that's just been created. Like it came out of nowhere.
The resin stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. It's this new thing. Like it's almost a separate thing. Like it really aids the custom painting community in a way. Like it really is like made to fit that community. But that being said, like I'm really, really interested in trying to support the modding community with what their needs are. Like with like Tiny Tactical, I really don't even know where you can buy their stuff. Like I've tried to find it other like places, and I'm like,
it's just their website.
I'm like, oh yeah, but I'm like looking and it's like always out of stock, and like I don't know. Like I feel like their stuff is so ship. Great. Yeah, it's hard to get, which also makes it desirable in a way.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want to make glove tops. I want to make like web shooters that are like glove tops. I want to make armor that is specifically just like not anything. Like it just goes on a specific place that you can add pouches to or something like that. You know, like you can fit it into any genre, whether that be Star Wars or Marvel customs or like military community stuff. And that's like kind of what after. So I'm like, I started with Star Wars. I moved on to Halo. Right now I'm going through a huge like superhero phase. So Marvel and DC. But after that, I think, and I'm not going to stop making characters and figures from those themes, but I really want to expand towards like your type of stuff, like what you guys do in the modding community, which is like, just like you were saying, like the Tiny Tactical is like really applicable to anything. Like it's not really
yeah.
You don't need to have just like a specific character to be done or whatever. I'm really into that too. So that's like where my next phase, probably later this year, will be, is like making different pockets and making different attachments and even holsters for guns or like, you know, stuff like that. And like really where the product ideas will be coming from is hopefully from the community, the modding community itself. Like, you know, I feel like a good majority of them already follow me, and I already follow a lot of them. And I don't know like how to start that dialogue, but I feel like if I start making stuff like that, like they will come, you know, they will, their opinions will be made clear. Like if they're like, oh, I want this, but change this, or I want this, but make this as well, you know, like,
yeah, everyone is like not thirsty for modern stuff, but there's not a lot of modern love that goes along. So like
Totally.
with Brick Arms making a lot more Star Wars stuff lately.
Oh yeah, because it's profitable as heck.
Yeah, and just there's a lot of other themes that are getting the love besides like modern military things.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who pops along doing something, people will notice. And
Yeah, and that's
if you're
kind of where
asking for opinions, you'll get them. Like
that's what I found with like Star Wars and Marvel and stuff. Like I feel like I've even like doubled the amount of people who are interested, because like people are interested in Star Wars, not always are interested in Marvel, and vice versa. So I feel like moving towards the military community, it'll be the same type of formula where it's like there's overlap to an extent, but like when you really cater to like people who are, you know, going to buy these things and who are interested in getting what they want, not what like a company tells them they want, you know, like I don't know. I feel like Brick Forge and Brick Warriors. Are you familiar with them?
Oh yeah.
So like I used to eat that stuff up when I was a kid, but like it's not everything that like I want. Like I want stuff that's like that, but like more specific towards other things, or like change in a way. So I feel like I'm not alone in that. Definitely, like most likely there's people who want like stuff that I'm making right now, or stuff that other companies are making right now, but like tweaked, even just so slightly, you know. And so I feel like conversation is like a really big key to my success that I've found. And like being able to take criticism well and like apply it. I really can't get to everything because they, like I said like earlier, like I forgot like 100 DMs like that one time. That's like every day now. Like it's people like DM like crazy, and like I don't know, you never like expect it to be like such a chore, but it really is really hard to manage like that side. Like that's a whole customer service side of the business that like you don't really expect to be real until it hits you. Like I'm having to like be like, oh shoot, I didn't send this in a replacement order. And like also that's one big thing about my business that I've really tried to like make a key, like a cornerstone, is like customer service needs to be like everything. And so if someone is like, hey, you didn't send this, I'm like, hey, I'll send you this, and I'll send you 2 other things to make up for the wait, and like I'm so sorry about that, thanks for letting me know. And like people are like, hey, like this broke, I'm like, hey, I'll send you. There's exceptions to that, like if they break it themselves, I'm like, sorry, I can't do that, like give you a replacement. I can give you like a discount or something. But you know, like people who are disappointed, like I really want to make sure everyone walks away happy. And it's really hard when there's hundreds of people coming at you in emails, 2 separate email accounts and 2 different accounts of DMs. And like I try my best. I think I'm doing a really good job right now of managing that. But like I don't know, I hear horror stories of like, I'm not going to like drop names, but like other printing companies really in specific.
You're right.
Even
the
on
Voldemort, you can't speak it. Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I'm a business myself, and like I'm not trying to like
you don't
throw
need to
dirt
get
on
smoke.
anyone, and like I totally understand like how it is to run a business. That being said, like I feel like because I know, I don't have patience for that. Like because I know like how hard it is, and how possible it still is, like to not be a jerk or to not like dismiss people. I'm like, there's no excuse for someone to like run a business and say, hey, if you buy this, you're going to get it. And then the transaction goes through, they pay for it, and then something happens in between that transaction and them receiving their parts that goes wrong. And then for the company to just be like, yeah, I don't care. It's like so not acceptable to me. Like, cause I've had that happen to me post starting the business, and I'm like, what is this? Like, where do you think like you can just do this and get away with it? I'm like, it's so sad to see it happen, because like there's like, I don't know, 5 or 10.
It feels criminal. Like
I know it really does. It's like, what is this? Like even just the way that they handle customers, even just the way that they treat people in comments or DMs is a big deal. It's a big deal because it's like, and
dude, I'm gonna tell you something off air about that.
No, and I've heard a lot of people come to me and be like, hey, I just want to say thank you for like and I'm not trying to brag or whatever, but I put a lot of effort into my customer service and like making sure that people are satisfied. And not only that, but they go beyond satisfying. So for instance, like if I see people, they're like, hey, this person, because I see the people's names who order from me. If I see like, let's just make up a name, like Jamie John's ordering like every week. Yeah, I'm going to be putting some extra stuff in Jamie John's orders. Like
exactly. Yeah.
Like that person's making an order and it's like $100. And then he makes the next week, he makes an order of $5. I'm going to give him like 5 extra pieces just because I'm like, I don't know. I feel like that person would have believed in me enough to be like, hey, here's my money. I believe in this. I believe in you so much and what you're doing, then I'm going to give you money. And I'm like, well, I'm going to believe in you enough to be like, hey, I appreciate that. And the way I appreciate that is through actions, not through like I don't know. So I like try to I love to give people free stuff when I can. And
Please
if they
continue with that.
yeah, like if they appreciate it, like I feel like the people that are ordering from me like nonstop, like I spoil them, like I love that too. Cause, and here's the thing, like a lot of time, and I'm not like telling people to do this. So there's a warning, but like if it happens, I'm not going to be a jerk about it. I'm going to like probably react similarly, but there's a lot of times where people will be like, hey, I made like this order and something's come up. I don't have the money for it. And like, I probably should not be saying this because I know people are going to abuse it, but like, they'll be like, hey, I don't have the money for it. Like, please refund my order. I'm like, definitely I'll refund it, but I'll just ship you the parts anyway. Like, like that's something like if I just try to put myself in the shoes of the consumer, because that's who I've been for so long, especially with companies like Brick Warriors, Brick Forge. I feel like those are safe ones to name drop because everyone knows them, and I'm not going to get like too specific on other ones. But like if that was me, I go, hey, company, I'm just a little person and I can't afford this, and I just cancel my order. They're like, yeah, your order's canceled. Here's your free stuff. I feel like that's so much more valuable to me, like as a person who's going to be supplying that person with parts. Because I feel like even if they never order again, that's a positive experience. Like I'm really trying to be like in the market of like good energy and not just like doing stuff for money, And so like, while it does provide me with like the means to live and like I'm living like good and I'm able to support this hobby and the business and stuff, I also want to be like providing an extra value on top of like, hey, this is just making me money. And like, it's really, really nice that I put out a bunch of Star Wars stuff and people buy it up and I don't even ship the products, or like they do get shipped and it's missing something. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to pay to ship it back or something. I'm like, wow, that's so scummy, like and if I sent someone something on accident, I'm like, just keep it. I'll send you a replacement, like try to be really, really cool about that. And I feel like people notice like everything you do, big or small, it's going to get noticed. That's something I've really tried to stick to, is like never, no matter how small or big an account is, dismiss them because of their size or because of like their attitude. Because I feel like that type of stuff, like there's accounts out there that are dedicated to destroying specific other like businesses. Like they're like hating on like all this, you know what I mean? Have you seen that?
I know what you're talking about.
I'm like, wow, like you think like no one cares. Like dude with 100 followers has a terrible interaction. Who cares? 5 dudes that have 100 followers have a terrible interaction. Okay, still who cares? Okay, like let's say like even 100 people. That sounds like a lot, but like it's really like still a
depending on the scale percentage of the brand.
Exactly. That is a huge amount of people that can come to like destroy you. And I'm not afraid. I'm just like really hoping that people like appreciate the amount of effort I try to not be a scummy business type thing,
Yeah, no, and it'll show, no doubt.
Yeah, and like, I also think like I'm not trying to be just a business. Like I feel like I'm really open to talking to anyone and everyone. They're like, hey, how do you paint
You were
this?
a community member first. Like that's
totally, yeah, totally. And like, like anyone else, I still do it for my enjoyment. The only reason I started doing the Marvel stuff is like started watching like all the Marvel movies with my family, and I'm like, hey, why don't I do some Marvel stuff? Where like previously I'm like, there's no way I'd make Marvel stuff. There's not a market for it. And then I'm like, wait, but like I'm sure I want to make it now. I'm sure people, if I want to make it, I know there's at least one other person out there that would want to make it or want to buy it and want to make it, So I'm like, who cares? I'll just make it. And it's been really great. So like I'd say like a lot of the times when I make stuff, it's coming from a place of, oh, I want to make this, so I think other people would want that too. Let's see what they have to say. If they agree, let's make it, So yeah, I don't know. I've heard in your podcast, you've mentioned like you've wanted to like make this profitable and stuff. And like, you're still, I'm assuming you're still like working a job.
Oh yeah. I'm in welding. So
that's right. I actually did welding like all through high school as well.
Oh, that's awesome. You had the shop in your high school?
We were like really fortunate. We had like an incredible welding shop.
That's so cool.
Like really, really nice. And I hated it, but like I would just go into the booths and just sit on my phone and like watch movies. And like my welding teacher would come like scream at me, and I'm like get in my face. He was like one of those teachers that like thinks he's like cool with kids, but like he's really just like, I don't know, like everyone thinks he's cool, but it was not cool to like be that screamy. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I've just realized like for myself personally, I need to be doing something like in this community, whether it's this or like I mentioned with like pad printing and I don't really want to stop this because I love it so much, and like feel like I've kind of built up like its own community itself, like with the resin stuff. But like, what are your plans? Like, are you, because I really hope this podcast does well, dude. Like, I really wish the best for you. Like
Thank you.
everything, like only good vibes towards your podcast. Because
I want to say the same to you. Like, I'm so, like, not that you need my cosign or anything, but
yeah,
like,
and vice
I
versa.
cannot give you like more genuine praise for what you're doing and like learning more about what you have going on. Like, I'm seriously so happy for what you have, and I'm so excited to what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
And I know that you putting customers first and all this, like saying it's you're not just like saying it to save face or look a certain way.
Hmm.
Like, it's genuine. Like, that means the world. Like, when you started on the customer service thing, and I'm like, please, like, we were both knew what we were talking about, like in terms of
Exactly.
bad customer service, and like, just because of those kind of interactions, what I've heard, I've to this day not bought a single item from that person. You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Like,
And
you
I will
don't
say,
know like how big those kind of things can impact your company. Or
totally.
and again, you being a community member yourself and wanting to maintain, like, you're doing it for fun and being a community member as well as having this business. Like, you can't just be a jerk about it.
Right. And I have to say, like, this is my one thing as a business that I fail at is shipping times. Like, just
Mm.
because of the amount of orders I get. Like,
That's
and
understandable, and like, you were saying how it's difficult to have people, like, to train people for it.
right.
That is the easiest part of your business and your whole operation that you could outsource.
Exactly. Yeah.
I really think, like, I hadn't thought, like, known the scale that you're operating at. You should seriously look into getting someone to ship for you, like,
Like
tomorrow.
maybe I'm thinking like
Like,
maybe later this year it is like an actual thing I'll be considering. Like just to like not to get into my personal life, but I'm getting married this
oh
week
yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah. I was just gonna say, yeah.
yeah, there's like
Congratulations
a
on that. That's amazing.
thank you so much. Like there's a lot of stuff that I need money for that I can't be paying like an employee for right
Right,
now.
right, right, right.
That being said, like later this year, I won't be getting married. Like I'll be married. So
Sure.
like I'm gonna have
Once
extra
things
money.
calm down.
Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot of expenses happening right now, like a lot. And so like once that's not the case, I'll look into something like that. But then like my fear would be like, oh no, like I hire someone and then like no one orders ever again. Like my business dries up. Like people just lose
Well, you don't got to
interest.
put them on full time. It's like a part-time thing. They only come once a week, something like that. Someone you
Like the
know.
problem with only coming once a week though is like we'll be behind 3 weeks.
Oh man.
Like it's
Well, in
that
the
big of a
beginning, then you
problem.
could get like caught up. Well, you figure out what your schedule is, right? But you're
I
not
know,
like
yeah.
hiring technically a full-time worker who's going to come like 9 to 5,
Yeah,
40 hours a
I
week.
know. And also just finding someone would be hard. I'm thinking about going to like a local college and getting interns, which is like, I don't know, sounds
Huh.
scummy or whatever, but like helps them build a resume and also helps me be able to like just get people who would kind of like do anything, And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so, and that's like probably something I'll do like this year or next year is do like try to get some interns to just help me with shipping or the website or orders or customer service or social media. I'll probably keep myself doing the social media just because I really enjoy it.
Right.
Like I said, like the community interaction, but there's so many sides to the business that's really hard to do. But yeah, shipping times I'm still bad at. Like if you order something, it's probably gonna take like it could literally ship that day or it could ship a week late. And I'm like, I feel terrible. So if it is shipping late, I always put free stuff in. Like
Mhm.
that's my justification of being like, well, it didn't get there like when in 3 to 5 days. It was probably like 7 days. That being said, like you get free stuff. So like usually people are like, thanks so much for like the this extras. And I'm like, yeah, hopefully like they're not pissed at me, but like I really am just one dude. Like a lot of people message me and they're like, hey, like tell like whoever your employees that are shipping your stuff. I'm like, bro, that's me. Like I'm the employee shipping the stuff. Like it's I don't know. People have a little bit of different like perceptions of what it is like behind the scenes for me, but I don't know. Like I try to like make up for it in other ways, but moving forward, I have like found good grooves and like I just have such a terrible like sleeping schedule. Like I'll
Mm.
sleep like 4 hours a night, 5 hours a night most nights, like and just work. Like I don't know, it's really hard because I had to kind of like be like, hey, I'm kind of shutting down for June because of my wedding and stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
You need the break.
but I'm also not like I'm like I can't. because like I'm afraid like if I stop, like it'll die. It's such a tiny baby business that I'm like I don't have the clout of Clone Army Customs, been doing it for so long or something like that, where I'm like I need to be on this like 24/7. So that's kind of like my thought
you'll be able
process.
to spark that right back up once you're got your time.
I hope
No
so.
doubt about it.
I hope so, but I guess we'll kind of see. And
what's the cutoff on the orders? I got to make sure I place my order before the wedding.
So it was today, June 1st. May 31st was the last. Well, here's the thing. So, like I said that I'm not shipping orders until July 1st. I still will be. Like I'm still going to be, but I just need to let people know, like, don't expect anything.
Right.
I'm going to be shipping, like, regardless. Like, your orders will be shipped. It's just like, I know I'm dropping a ton of stuff this month and kind of using it like it's going to function more as like a pre-order type situation. I'm also, with every order made in June, from June 1st to June, whatever the last day, 30 or 31st is, there's going to be 2 free items and 1 like exclusive item, probably a couple throughout the weeks of June. And I'll be making posts about that like here soon. It's just I'm so slammed with like so much stuff going on in like the personal life and whatever. But
right.
Yeah, so like there will be incentive to order. Like I'm gonna probably put some things out in June that aren't not gonna be available after that, just for the fact that I hope people will still order type thing. But
That's awesome.
Yeah. But that being said, like orders are still going to be shipped, but it's just I have like a week or 2 in the middle of June where I'm gonna be like focusing on that. But then come July 1st, like it's like that'll be the only thing I'm doing is just like getting everything shipped. But so chances are, if you were to order, like you'll probably get it like mid-June. But
I don't know. It just
like no guarantees until July.
All right. Slight audio issues. So if there's a weird splice here, I'm just saying that in advance so I can edit it properly. Boom. There you go.
But yeah, I was asking you, like, what's your plans with the podcast and with like everything moving forward?
Yeah. So I just graduated. I actually got to go. There was no like graduation ceremony. Like there was a Zoom one, and I just didn't even RSVP.
Right.
So honestly, I'm happier for it because I didn't even want to have to like walk to get a diploma or anything. Like I was cool. I was chill. I'm like, I got my knowledge here. That's cool. I'm moving on. But I'd go on actually Friday. I'm going to go with my buddy to pick up our diplomas from like the main office and whatnot. So yeah, I'm out of school for welding. I'm working a part-time job. I got it midway through my last semester. And so my boss was like, hey, so now that you're graduating, you're going to go full-time, right? I'm like, no. I'm trying to, I have a bit of a garage space and I bought my own machine. So with the welding stuff, I'm trying to start up my own work. I'll send you a photo of it. I made like this table and I just want to I got into it to pursue creative things. Mm-hmm. So I feel like now is the time for me to do so. Like my parents I'm living with my parents. They're okay with me making that decision to kind of not go full time to just, 9 to 5ing it.
That's awesome.
And to try and experiment with that. So now's the time, if any, to see if I can make something happen with that. But outside of that, well, the reason I mention that at all is just because I'll have like a unique amount of time that I can actually still work with and contribute to the Lego community and working on the podcast and stuff. So I don't really have any intention to quit it at all. At times when I was really bogged down, like I just shifted the schedule from every week to every other week. And that's been huge because like between the last episode I had and then Eli's, it felt like forever. I was like, oh wow, that's right, I have a podcast. Like I gotta go do that. But that 2-week is going to be huge for me to be able to really like up the quality, work on them, make them more meaningful, not like I'm just pumping them out, avoid getting burnt out so that I will continue to do it in the future because it's really something. Obviously, I enjoy getting to talk to people for it. Like, right. It's phenomenal. But even, I don't know, I have mixed feelings depending on what part of the podcast process I'm in, right? So 10 minutes before we called, I was like, God, why would I choose to make a podcast as like an introvert? Okay, I use that as like from the very technical terminology. Like I'm definitely not an outgoing person. to where I'm just going to be like super bubbly and talking to every single person. But to people I know or have something to discuss, I absolutely love having conversation, right?
Yeah.
But just in the definition of like, if you're an extrovert, you like recharge, socializing. And if you're an extrovert, you recharge being alone, right? So I'm definitely, no doubt, an extrovert. Like, I cannot be around people too long. Hello there. Sorry for the cutaway. This is Billy from the future. I don't know what I was saying there. I totally mixed up the introvert and extrovert. What I'm trying to say is I'm introverted in the technical terms of it, not an extrovert. Sorry for my stupidity. And now let's resume the conversation. So I'm like, why of all things would I choose to make a podcast? So like, it was stressing me out almost. I'm like, ugh, like I have nothing prepared. Like what I was touching on it a bit at the end of Eli's episode, right? That he was like the first one in a while that I had like very little prepared, and I just kind of had a feeling it would go well. And that's what I was banking on for this episode as well. And lo and behold, 100%, like it's really been tremendous talking to you. Like this has been really,
I feel like I really just like
great time.
stole like the entire time and just like really didn't let you talk at all. But like I just
that was perfect.
No, I feel like people are gonna be like, man, this dude just not shut up.
No,
but
I love that for the energy of having somebody else on who can really just kind of just take it away and won't shut up. I love that. That's perfect for me as the introvert here. But anyway, I don't know what I was saying. But yeah, depending on the like what stage of the process I'm in, I'm like, ugh, this podcast is a mistake. Why am I doing it?
No, and dude, it's great.
I got to edit it, and then this and that. And then in reflection of like everything, I'm like, oh, this is the best thing I'm doing. And like, this is tremendous.
Awesome.
Like I'm able to really work on something like meaningful to people I care about and to the community I love. I'm developing like speaking skills in a unique way and hosting abilities and all these like unique skills that you can't really develop elsewhere. And I don't know, it's just a weird niche that, like how you could look back or like you listen to people like autobiography or something, like they're talking about their life and it's like these small like weird things that happened in developmental years or like earlier on in their careers that like, and it's like, oh well, these are the skills I developed, now I could do this thing, right?
Yeah.
When I like really reflect on it, I think about the podcast that way and I'm like, this is something that in the long term will prepare me to do something different. Like there's going to be something else that'll come out of these skills. But either way, yeah, I don't want to stop it in any way. So the 2-week intervals now is going to pretty much ensure that. So I could make sure that anytime I wouldn't be around, I'll have a backlog. I'm working on that. I literally had 0 people lined up after Eli's. Like I was slacking a bit. I need to get more people on. I want to hit up Morphonauts to get on. I want to hit up. I'm definitely gonna hit up Aaron after this. So I want to build up the repertoire that I can just a back catalog I can pull from and have them all like literally. I want to be able to look. I use Simplecast or is that even what it's called? I don't know. It's something to host the podcast, and you could like schedule them in advance. So I want to be able to look at the page there and see like 4 or 5 of them literally scheduled in advance for like a month forward. That's the goal. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I think part of your question asking it was like if I could monetize it or anything. So like I have the Patreon, which has been like beyond supporting. Like I started it up just to float like the $15 cost of hosting it on all like the platforms of like Spotify, Apple Music, whatnot. Because if I just wanted to upload it on YouTube or whatever, like I could do that for free. But that's not. I wanted to make it legit. So beyond like my time commitment and everything, like I was like, that's my choice. That's what I want to do. Like, and if people are really loving it, their actual support would mean a lot, so that it's kind of self-sufficient. So now there's some additional funds with that, which I hope to like allocate to make the podcast better, which is like what I did with the intro music. I'm getting like torsos printed, which I'll sell and then further fund the podcast and stuff like that. So I definitely want to be able to keep on expanding it in ways. I'm not entirely sure. Like I think about it, like we discussed, I think it was mentioned earlier, was just the making a video component, or having a co-host, stuff like that. Like I have some ideas there, but I definitely don't want to keep it stagnant again, expanding into different sorts of guests I never would have had on, like Morphonauts. That's insane. Like, what do I say to a toy designer? I don't know. Like,
No, yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, I would think, man, I can't remember. Oh, I was talking to Pete, Pete's Customs, and he had mentioned Morphonauts, and he was like, yeah, he's a super kind dude. Like, he'll respond to anyone. And I was like, oh, sweet. Because I was working up to make that DM to him to be like, oh, hey, I'd have this podcast thing. Do you want to be on? Like, everyone's talked about you. But to know he's a good dude will make that a lot easier. Anyways.
No, yeah, he'll definitely I feel like he would really be accommodating to everyone. So
that's sweet. Yeah. So
like,
I look forward to
you'd have
having
no
him
issue.
on.
Yeah.
But
and I'd love to like see you like reach out to other people in like the custom painting community, to just even further like cross over the two, the modding and the painting. Yeah, I feel like there's so many people that are really not a part of both, but are just part of each one, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I mean, like we were talking, I think there's a lot of people who appreciate each, subsect from the sidelines, but they're never really having those interactions. So if the podcast could start that, that's awesome. Again, I'm not trying to get high and mighty about it, but I don't know. I've been well, what's the term called? Networking. That's I feel like just lately, all of a sudden, I've been networking and rubbing shoulders with all these Star Wars and painter people. And I'm like, oh, look at this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely want to branch into that more, have a lot more people like that on, and just not keep it so secluded to people who are just cutting up brick arms.
No, it's still cool. Even if it's just cutting up brick arms, it's still cool.
Thank you. Yeah. Something else was like I had started doing a little bit of YouTube, like tutorials and stuff like that. And I wanted to ask you, because you're relatively consistent with your uploads, aren't you?
I'd like to be more consistent with higher quality. And like, that's just like, I don't know. It's hard because you're like, I want to upload all the time and I want to upload the best videos every time. And it's like, I just end up doing neither most of the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Cause like, I feel like where I want to go with my YouTube is to be kind of like a commentary on the kind of like what your podcast is. It's more of just like conversation and commentary on the hobby, which is where I want to move towards. And and a lot more tutorial stuff too. Like I have like a few, I have like 3 or 4 videos that are like banger videos in my opinion that are just not edited. Like they're on my camera roll. And I'm just like, I know I could edit those and like put them out, but I'm like, I don't have the time. It's not a matter of like, I don't want to.
So like the struggle of like doing neither, right? Like you're like, oh, well, I could make something, and then, just being indecisive and then doing neither. Like my idea was that anytime I go and sit down to mod something extensively, I'll just record it. And then I just haven't. And then I finally like broke the cycle, recorded it, and now it's just sitting on my computer. But because it's like 4.5 hours of footage, I'm like, bro, I'm not going to cut this down to 20 minutes. Like, are you crazy? Like, that's going to be so much.
I started doing that with like earlier on with tutorials, especially with, I started doing reels, and my reels like blew the heck up. Like for some reason.
That's actually how I discovered you, was the reels.
I know that a lot of people say that, and it's like, wow, really? Okay, then. But I didn't even put any effort in them, but well, that's not true. I put tons of effort into getting footage. Like, let me tell you, you know this because you said you filmed something. Okay, like customizing, painting, modding, it's hard. It requires skill. Customizing, painting, modding while filming is another thing. It's so much harder. Like to be able to, you have to like contort your hands into like into the camera almost.
Well, see, the way I was doing it, I bought a GoPro for my other hobby. So I set up the GoPro on my head to do it, and that way I have like the perfect perspective, and I don't have to. I feel
like the camera would be like shaky though, right?
No, it's super stable. Like you could see on. I have a couple tutorials up on my YouTube about it.
Yeah, send me a link. I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, sure. I thought it was a pretty unique solution because I haven't seen anyone do that before. I always saw people have it like on the bird's eye view, and then they're like tilting their head around the camera just so they could see their hands and all this stuff.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah. But then the issue is then it's like I have to wear them out like the whole time. And then the
Okay.
batteries, like I'd have to get like I'd have to buy 2 more batteries if I'm going to be serious about it to be cycling them out constantly. Because
Right.
I have 2 right now, so I could cycle in and out, but it doesn't. I can't like do an infinite loop of recording with that.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets super hot, and it's just like
Oh,
I have this thing
really?
on my head. It's annoying. Like, so that's like another barrier of actually recording everything I do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like there's some sort of solution, like a rig I could build to like make it work, but I found like the easiest thing for reels specifically. I know it's different with YouTube videos, but like I bought this little like hand thingy that grips like a phone, and you can like maneuver in any
Oh
angle.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
use that now. It's a lot easier to film with that. But what I'll
Hmm.
do is I'll like do a majority of the work on not on filming. And then when it's like
Right.
an important clip, I'll like film that, and I'll only film that. And I won't do multiple takes. Like I'll like do enough to get the right one, then I'll just delete all the other footage immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way when it goes to editing, like I can see like I have all the clips there. I don't really need to edit at all. I just chuck them all in, and then like I don't know, I feel like the least amount of effort that I have to put in gives me the more incentive to like actually make something. Like right now I have an entire tutorial filmed on how to paint my Iron Man armor. That's like actually
Mm-hmm.
really cool. It's like it's stuff that I learned painting it that I know if somebody were to see that, they'd be like, oh wow, that's nice. And then I'm like, just haven't edited it. It's just like
Right.
sitting there, you know? And there's like 3 or 4 other videos that are like that are just sitting on my camera roll. So
Like I'd want to experiment with the reels because like I love the finished product that comes out.
right.
What I really love is seeing like behind the scenes of photography accounts, like
Mm,
even beyond Lego ones, just like
right.
toy photographers.
Totally agree.
And the people who make the reels for that blows me away. Like I love the quality that they bring to it and everything,
Yeah.
but I know that's so much work to create those.
It's like 60 seconds tops and like 5 hours filming.
Yeah, like you have to just be so intentional while you're also going about creating something like legitimately.
Totally.
Like that's just it's a lot. But I'll hopefully do it one time at least. We'll see. Maybe in the
Yeah.
future. So here we are. Welcome to the Copper Drop. You made it all the way through. We're going to go through the list of a few items here, and if you like it, you cop it. If you don't, you drop it. First up, we have Pete's Customs Phase Pilot Droid. As of right now, as we're recording this, he only just posted it on his story as like a render. I think by the time you're actually like anyone's listening to this, it'll be a full product. So you could go check that out on Pete's Customs page. It'll be tagged in the Instagram wrap up post. What are you feeling on this?
So like I don't play Titanfall, so like immediately it's like not interested. But that being said, um it's a cool figure. My only problem is I'm like looking at the legs. Looks like there's no knee joints. That's like kind of
Oh,
interesting. If there is, like I could just
it
be wrong.
Boom. And here I am again, second edit of the podcast. It's Billy from the future. As it turns out, I was talking to Pete, and the Phase Pilot does have adjustable knees. Like, they move around. It's really sick. Boom. Back to the podcast. Oh, right. Yeah.
But the I don't know, like the other ones on this we'll talk about, but custom brick builder has like a lot of the droids things. And so just to be like honest in general, like all 3 of these things are like resin printed products. The only resin printed products I've ever purchased is from this guy named Tuminio. I don't know if you're
I
aware
don't
of
think I've
him.
heard of him.
He's this UK builder or printer, and he does like similar stuff. That's how actually I wanted to do my first print. So technically, no, I'm not the first. I said this earlier. I lied. I'm not the first. Tuminio, give credit to him. He started this. I lied.
Send me
Yeah.
his profile. I gotta
I will.
check him
Yeah.
out.
I totally lied. He did this first, but it was kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like different from what I'm doing, but also exactly the same. And like he did a Mandalorian helmet that I bought, and that's what I made my like custom. I feel like in the community, like people like they'll be like, oh, like new movie, got to make all the figures. So like a lot of people used his helmet. And then I realized like I hated it. I love it. Like props to him. Like, but then after I just started designing my own stuff, I was like, oh, I got to make my own. Like I need to make my own. So that's like literally the only 3D printed products I've ever purchased. And like even still today, I like look at the people who buy my stuff. I'm like, you guys are crazy. Why would you ever like buy this? Like I'm like, why do you want this? Like, I don't know, but people want it, you know? It just blows my mind. But if I'm gonna put myself in the mindset of like not me and like talk specifically about like these things about like just from a consumer base, this one I'd say like I don't know, it really depends on me being a Titanfall fan, but also the no knee joints thing is like not my favorite. So I'd say drop on this one. But
Yeah.
I'm
not sure about the knee joints. Like, it's a weird angle. Like, there's no fully way of telling. I hope the knee joints are bent. I hope there's knee joints.
This thing looks top heavy as heck. Like, look at the thin legs. Look at that chunky body. And that has me scared that I'll never be able to stand it up. You know, like, so that's like another thing for me is like, I always put stuff out that I want to like be functional. I don't want to put stuff out that's like janky. I'm saying that not that this would be, but like personally, there's a few people that I've heard purchase some 3D printed stuff that is kind of similar to this, and it was a nightmare. Like, it just breaks, won't stand up, falls apart, really flimsy. So like personally, like this one is a drop for me just based on those like factors alone. Plus I'm like not a Titanfall guy, but if I'm like an average dude and I love Titanfall, this is a cop, definitely. But I don't know about this. I'm sure like this is super hype if you love Titanfall. I'm not gonna lie, hundreds of people are always like, make Titanfall, make Titanfall, make Titanfall. I'm
really?
Like, oh yeah, you have no idea. I'm so surprised that. And
I had no idea Titanfall was like huge like that.
It's huge. I thought that thing died. I thought it was gone.
Right.
But it's huge. No, it's huge. That and Destiny. Those are the two ones that I'm like,
oh, Destiny's big.
Yeah, but I'm like, how do you guys still play this and love it enough to like request me and they're like, I will pay you, like I will commission you to just make these so I can buy them. I'm like, no,
oh
okay.
My goodness.
I'm like, that's okay. Like, I'm like, I just would rather like do like other stuff right now with my time. But yeah, right. So if I'm just gonna respond to like all three of these products as if I'm not like owning, I don't have
not
a business
yourself.
Exactly. So like for me, this one's a drop just based on like it's kind of looking a little flimsy. Unless I'm a Titanfall fan, then it's a cop. But we can move on from this one. I feel like I've ranted enough.
It's a cop for me. It gives me heavy like Chappie vibes, which I really like.
I thought this was Chappie.
Right.
I was like, oh, this is not Chappie, it's Titanfall.
Yeah, but I like the way the vest kind of came out. It's always a weird thing when pouches like aren't right next to each other, but on this one it works because it's just like the slim body for me. Yeah, I like it. And the scarf, I don't know. If I had my hands on it, I could make like a pretty cute looking APOC droid, which I'm about.
That is cool.
All right. Next up, we have from the man himself, Tristan, aka Custom Brick Builder, his Lego style Grievous. How are you feeling on that?
Big respect to him for his dark, what is it called? Dark something from the Mandalorian, Dark Trooper. Those ones were really cool. This one, I hate the head. I know it's based on his custom Grievous that he made. I think he like just digitalized it basically. And it's also it's cool. It's really cool. I like it. I like the arms. I hate the head though, that it's just the
ball jointed feet are pretty neat.
That's what I was looking at too. So personally, this one, I'll talk as Natesminifigs and then I'll talk as a basic consumer. So like as Natesminifigs, this is obviously a drop because I don't really purchase too much stuff I could just make myself.
Sure.
And I also just don't have interest in Grievous as a character. I know a lot of people like him. But the other reason this is a drop is because Aaron or LM9 is actually sometime in the future that doesn't have a date on it yet. He's putting out his resin casted Grievous, which like no hate to Tristan. This is awesome. But like, I think like Aaron's is a little bit better. So I would put my money towards Aaron's. Definitely. I love
and like you were talking earlier, you prefer the resin casted
and
here's quality. So
here's an item that would like greatly benefit from it being resin casted. Why? Because look, the ball joints on anything resin printed is super flimsy.
Sure.
Even I'm working with a product right now that it's the Dr. Octopus arms, and the ball joints on those are like the biggest problem area. And I'm like, I found a fix to it, but I was considering not even releasing them, just because like I don't want to sell something that's going to be falling apart too easy. Like I'm probably going to have to even put a disclaimer, be like, this is for display, not for play, like, or even use. Heavy use is like not suggested, but so I don't like resin printed ball joints. Resin casted ball joints, that's different situations, a lot sturdier. So from a Natesminifigs perspective, this is a drop. From a basic consumer perspective, Um, I would say even like if I'm just like a random dude, I would say I'm waiting for Aaron's. Why? Because that thing is gonna be limited. Like if he like released a bunch of torsos and stuff, I bought them. I didn't even paint them. I just want them just because they're not going to probably be made very often in the future. And I know he's trying to like do stuff more, but I know like it's kind of a collector's item to have his sculpted one. But that being said, I don't know when it's going to come out. So if you're into Grievous and you want this, go for it. There is another Grievous on the market that is, I'm not like saying who it's by just because I don't want to like hurt feelings, but I've heard horror stories about it. Like it's what I was talking about the ball joints. And it's like really pricey. I don't know what he's pricing this at, but I'm assuming it's probably going to be pretty up there because stuff like this requires a lot of work to get done. And I know like you got to charge for that. So I don't know. For basic consumer, probably cop. Like if you're into Grievous, yeah, this is like a cool option. I don't see him like not holding, like I don't see him putting this out of stock anytime soon unless it's like is going to happen. So I'd say for Natesminifigs, drop basic consumer cop unless you want to wait for Aaron's, which is like what I'll be doing. Like, so that's kind of like where I'm at feeling on this, like really complex, like answer, but yeah.
I like the complexity of it, expanding into the ball joints and all that. I think it's really innovative, so I'm about it. Probably won't cop just because
Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. I have enough issues buying military plastic. I don't need to buy Star Wars plastic too.
Right.
But
I know many
really
people
sweet.
that would feel the exact opposite, but
right.
I'm glad there's some diversity in opinion.
All right. Last up, we have the Embo armor from our boy Eli. How are you feeling on this?
So like again, from the Nate's minifigs perspectives, this is just immediately a drop. That being said, if
he only buys his own resin.
That's right. No, resin. And here's the thing: is like if there is something that's super cool, it's like there's nothing that would really stop me from making it myself and putting my own spin on it. So I'm like, when I see cool stuff, I'm like, oh, I could just make that, but my way, you know. So that's it. It actually motivates me. So I'm glad people make stuff like this because I'm like, oh, now I could do like my spin. But from consumers' perspective, this is like a definite cop. Like for the head sculpt, that's like really cool. That it's like a resin printed head with sculpting work already done on it. That's cool.
Yeah.
Torso, awesome. I really like the shoulders.
The torso is tremendous for me. I love it
absolutely. So those little pockets on there, somebody cut those off and actually used them in like it might have been Eli. Maybe. Because this is his, right?
Yeah.
Okay, then yeah, it was him. He cut off those little like grenade looking things and used them on my Spartan armor. And because I never
I remember seeing that.
I never made like the correct like extra bits for a lot of the Spartans. So like he kind of filled in that gap with his stuff, which is cool. I've been meaning to, but yeah, this is a definite cop for me if I was not Nate's Minifigs, just because it looks so cool. I've seen so many people buy this and do incredible paint jobs with it. Like that, and that goes for all of these products. Like if you buy these and you can paint them up really nicely, like anything about like the flexibility, fragility goes out the window because you're probably just going to be displaying it anyways. And like if you can make it look really nice, like it's worth the money because like the painting experience alone on like resin stuff, it's awesome. It's so much more enjoyable than just like starting from scratch. It's really, really fun. So like, I don't know, all of these I'm like cop and then all of these I'm like drop at the same time. So, you know, but yeah, I really love to see other people doing resin
You're playing
stuff.
both sides, so you always come out on top.
Hey, don't give away my secrets now. But I don't know. Like these are all things that I would never make. So it's cool to see people making stuff that I wouldn't touch, you know? Like just because like Imbo is from the Clone Wars. I loved the Clone Wars when I was a kid, but like I don't really care about it anymore too much. I still make stuff from it occasionally that I think is cool, like that just lasts in terms of like being cool forever. But this is like such an obscure character to me that I'm like, I don't have any connection to it. So, but if you're loving this character, this is the definitive way you could make a custom of him. So definitely pick it up if you're like into that. Same with whatever that Titanfall one thing is. I'm sure that goes for that too. I just do not know what it is. So that's how I feel about these three.
All right. Well, we made it through. It has been beyond a pleasure to have you on and getting to know you a bit.
Likewise.
We'll definitely do another one in the future. Yeah. Any last words?
No, I feel like I talked way too much, and next time we can have a conversation about you. But no, it's been good. I really wanted to like kind of chat about like my experience, and it's cool that like you give me the platform to do it here. And I'll definitely be listening to your stuff in the future. I love this podcast and definitely encourage you to not stop. Like, it's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I don't really have anything to say. Check out my stuff on Instagram if you are into the resin stuff or just want to get into it. And then like I said, I have that second account. If you want to give me like suggestions, I'll probably be better to answer stuff on there. So,
yep.
I've talked way too much.
Natesminifigs on Instagram. Check
Yeah,
them
that's
out.
right. Yeah, I talk way too much, so it's probably time to end.
Not at all. No, it was really informative. That's what I've loved so much about having, say, Eli on the last episode and now you, is that it's a totally like I can just sit back and like learn. Like it's really informative for me to just learn about this different aspect of the community I'm not involved in. So it was really great. Thank you for being on, man.
Definitely, it was my pleasure, my honor.
Thank you all for listening, and if you enjoyed this podcast, share it with a friend or leave us a review on iTunes. I want to give a huge thank you to all of our patrons on patreon.com. We have Seth, Luger Enthusiast, Tupolev, Mike, Justin, Francisco, Dashbricks, PK Custom Lego, Milo, Dr. Xbox Live, Jay, and Minibigs. I cannot thank you all enough. If you're interested in supporting the podcast, check out the link tree in our Instagram bio, which will lead you directly to the Patreon. Once again, thank you again to Charlie for creating this theme music. Please show him some support and check out his work anywhere you stream music. He goes by Charlie the Nomad. Thank you all again for listening, and make sure to tune in next time.